All right, welcome back. So, things looking a little bit different. Yeah, unfortunately, on the notion of doing different topics every now and then on the channel, well, obviously a very different topic today. I am sitting on a stool in what used to be my hobby area. I had a flood in my basement, which is why there's a bunch of emptiness around me. So I have not seen my basement like this since moving into the house 30 plus years ago. But such is life. But aside from the context of the flood and the damage and all the insurance and all that, not gonna talk about that. The idea I had to talk about was having a hobby space. And do you need a big giant space to do your work? The answer is no, as you can probably guess by me giving this little talk in this video. But yeah, I figured I'd start off down here in the vast emptiness that was once my hobby space, but will eventually be so again. And all the mess around here on the floor, while the basement is empty, I'm just taking advantage to put up a ceiling, taking advantage of the open floor to put up a ceiling. You can see this is my light setup where I usually drop the lights and do my final build reveals or filmed right about here. So it will all come back, but I'm gonna take a quick pause here, go upstairs and show you my temporary working space and how you can still do your hobby with just a little space allowance and perhaps not even a permanent space allowance. So that will be today's topic. In the meantime, of course, as always, thank you for watching, subscribing. Please do hit that alert button, like, share, all that fancy YouTube stuff, as I like to say. So, on that note, quick pause, and then be right back. Alrighty. All right, so here it is. My temporary working space, my very temporary working space. Please do forgive the mess because with the basement emptied, the basement is now all over the house in addition to being in storage. So yeah, lots of clutter right now. It just is what it is. And if any of you have had the misfortune of experiencing this, I think you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But in terms of having a space to work, what are your essentials? Well, you need a spot to build, got that. Of course, you need a kit to build, got that, which is, and a kit, I should say, which is amenable to what your limitations will be in a situation like this, which I'll talk about in a moment. And then I have my camera mount, so I can still make some videos shooting down there. So it's not all bad. All right, be back in a second. Okay, so now I'm in the driver's seat, so to speak. So let's talk about the reality of working in a situation like this, or the reality of a situation where you don't have a basement or a spare room or any kind of a space where you can really dedicate to doing your hobby. Can you still do a hobby? Well, fortunately, the answer is, of course you can. You just may have to rethink a little bit what you're going to do and be, let's say, realistic about what you can do. Now, I haven't had the opportunity to show on the channel yet doing a large scale build. The largest scale build I've done was the 1/16 VW bus. But if you look back at that video, it's a big box and there's a lot of parts, and that, along with pretty much every other build I've done, there's a lot of painting going on, a lot of detail painting, which means space for paints. And long story short, that space doesn't exist here. So, certainly in a situation where you have a limited or no dedicated space, something like that, bigger scale kits or kits requiring a lot of detail painting and detail work, probably not going to be too feasible. However, there are still things you can do. Now, the next two builds I'm doing for the channel, one's going to post right after this video, so you can already see that. I found this kit, this Wood-O-City Starry Night. The company now goes by the name of ROKR, or whatever. But this is a wood kit, and it basically snaps together. So there was only two additional things I did with that, which was a wood stain on part of it, and I did have one spray paint that was not packed away, and I used that as well. And because the weather is rather pleasant right now, I was able to do those two things outdoors because I don't really have any space in my garage either at this point. So my garage, as you may know from my other videos, is basically my paint hood. But that is certainly an option. You know, there are, not just from this company, but there are numerous wood press kits out there. And unless you want to do the stain or painting, whatever, if you want to build it out of the box, you can. And all you may need is a little piece of sandpaper, maybe a hobby knife. Otherwise, they just fit right together. And as you'll see from when I do this build video, they look really nice when they're done. So certainly a viable option. If you want to stick with plastic, as you can guess from this box here, which you just see a little bit of, Gundam builds. Now, I've done a number of these on the channel already. These kits are fantastic. They are beautifully molded. The molds are super crisp. Bandai just does an incredible job on the manufacturing and engineering of these kits, but they are pressed together and they are completely molded in color. So aside from maybe getting a marker to do some panel lining to bring it out, you can build these kits straight out of the box. And you know, this kit, this image is the kit built out of the box, zero painting, weathering, anything else. They just did the panel lining. You know, I mean, forget about the color scheme for a minute, whether you like that or not, but that's the level of detail and build you can get out of that. This kit, this particular one, this is a master grade Gundam. If you're not familiar with the different grades of Gunpla or Gundam building, this is like the medium range. There's about 250 parts in this kit. So the complexity, the detail, it's all there. So you can do one of these and still get a very enjoyable build without requiring a lot of painting and let's call it accessory material that you would normally use for, let's say, building cars and stuff that come in white plastic that is going to require a lot of painting. The other nice thing, whether it's, you know, doing Gundams or doing Wood-O-City, there is yet a third option, and these metal earth kits. Now this one also happens to be a Gundam. You know, I like to build my Gundams, but these things are great because they come on these etched metal sheets, and you basically snap the pieces or clip the pieces out, and with a pair of needle nose or two, you just fold and piece it together. So in some ways, it is similar to the wood kit. Both of these are almost like three-dimensional puzzles. Really nice though. And again, you don't have to do any painting with it. You can just take it out of the envelope, and with 2 or 3 tools, you can build something. And that's pretty neat. But I think an important thing to consider with all 3 of these options I have shown here is you don't need a permanent space to build. In fact, before I had started the channel and I didn't really have like a dedicated hobby area that I made myself downstairs, I was just on a tear doing these Gundam builds, and I did do them right here at my dining room table because I have a nice window here. I have my windows in the living room looking outside. It's a nice bright space to sit. And the great thing was with these Gundam kits, you know, when we needed a dining room table, I packed everything in the box. I put the box aside. We had the table. So it's not like I had to, you know, disassemble a whole big hobby concern to get that out of the way. I could pack up the box, put the box aside, and when it was time to build again, pick up right where I left off. Because there's no paint or anything like this, my little builder's board is just a little bit bigger than this box. You know, I've built at my dining room table high grade, which are the entry level, let's say, Gundam kits. These master grades, which build up to about yay high, and I even did to perfect grades, which are huge and super intricate and hundreds of parts. But I was able to do that right here at the table. So, moral of the story is, if you have limited space and or you do not have a dedicated space to jump into the hobby, you can still get into the hobby. Yes, you will have to make some compromises as to the kinds of things you can build, but hey, life is all about compromises, right? You can make the compromise of saying, oh, I don't have the space, I'm not going to bother with the hobby. You know, that's everybody's personal decision. I think that would be a really unfortunate decision, because then you're going to miss out on something that can be incredibly rewarding and incredibly fun. But with just a little compromise as to what kinds of things you're going to build, you can still build. You know, at the same time, I mean, aside from this stuff, you know, Revell has snap fit kits. I believe Airfix has a line of snap fit kits, but although the Revell ones do get a little more intricate and detailed. In fact, I have a VW bus, camper bus from Revell that is snap fit. There's over 100 parts in that kit. It has opening doors and everything. You know, really neat. Obviously, there it is molded in some colors. As I was going to say, obviously, painting would do a lot to amplify the, you know, or certainly accentuate the final appearance of that kit, but not a requirement. You could build that kit out of box and still have something pretty decent to look at. And remember too, you don't need, if you want to bring some paints into the picture, you don't need even the variety of paint that I show, which when I watch other hobby channels, I think I have a very modest collection of colors. But with just, let's say, 8 or 10 colors, a few metallics, a red, a blue, a black, a white, you know, you can still do quite a bit of things in terms of detail painting. And especially if you go with acrylic, it's water cleanup, no odor, no fumes. So, you know, just it takes a little more planning when your space is constrained. That's it. So that's the topic. You know, a little something that hadn't thought of until life intervened and created my situation in my basement. But at the same time, you know, in terms of talking about the hobby and doing things, hey, you know, it gave me an idea and a chance to talk about something different and talk about some of the options involved. You know, when I deal with things with my books and my writing career, a lot of times when I go to presentations about marketing and stuff, they always talk about, you know, you're already at this level and in how to amplify it. And there's rarely any talk about going from 0 up to that particular level, which I won't get any further in because that's a whole other conversation. But, you know, same exact thing with the hobby, with even to an extent my channel, but there are certainly other channels when you see the work areas people have made for themselves. You know, they have every tool under the sun, and it's this very nice, organized, well, some of them, but, you know, this very nice dedicated work area, like their little escape area for doing the hobby, and hats off to them that they can have that. But as someone, you know, going back to the writing analogy, I look at that as someone coming new into the hobby may look at that and go, oh man, you know, I don't have space for that, I don't have the resource for that. And to the point of this little discussion, you don't need all that. You can do it simple, and you can still do quite a few things. So that's it. Gonna wrap this one up. Next build will be the Starro City, which came out really cool, I have to say. And then I'm gonna dig into this Gundam. So off I go. In the meantime, like I said, thank you for watching, subscribing, all that good YouTube stuff. And I'll see you at the next build. And in the meantime, as always, enjoy your hobby. All right. Thank you. Goodbye.